See, is it understanding what it's saying? Let's see if we're live. It looks like hello, hello, testing 1 2 3. Well, it looks like we're live. Well, hi there. Welcome to the channel. So today, team here. We're just gonna gap around. I have some videos coming up this week, talking about various things. So let's see. So how's everyone doing out there tonight? Look, I know, I get it. There's no one watching my live stream. I'm just doing a live stream because I feel like doing a live stream. Even though I know no one's watching, I get it. But maybe sometime in the future, someone may watch it. So that's why I'm like, okay, hey, how are you doing? So let's just go with the charade, you know? Let's just kind of go with that. So in trying to work on a new song, basically I work from home and like I spend a lot of time on meetings and I'm like, I have an acoustic classical guitar and I mess around with stuff. I've been playing guitar since I was born. Not really, but since maybe like 10 or 11, I don't know. You know, we all played instruments when we were kids, you know. We were growing up in the 70s. And we just, yeah, everyone learned to play an instrument. Still working on it, but I don't know. This is what happens to me. Because like I start like playing something and you wonder, it's like, well, is that really my song? Am I coming up with it? And the answer is, like, I've been writing songs for a long time in my life. So you kind of understand that stuff kind of comes from the nether. Doesn't really, you don't know where it comes from. But sometimes, every now and then, it'll be like, hey, no, it turns out that it was some other song that you've heard on the radio. And like, I didn't learn how to play it. I have no idea how to play it, but it just starts coming out. And that's what I wonder about this one. That riff. And then we go to here. And then we go to there. So I think that's my song. I don't think it's anyone else's song. So that's when I'm sticking to it because I don't want any copyright strikes. So my view, it's my song. So kiss my hairy butt. Yeah, so that's it. So in the world, I've created all kinds of stuff. It's like creating stuff. I mean, that's why. So I guess there's probably like, I don't know, 2 types of people that. Oh, you know what I have to do? I was just realized this. I have to go feed my sheep. So okay, let me explain what's going on over here. This is the art place. So okay, it's the art museum. Okay, when I went to write the sign, I forgot how to spell museum, and I was like, I don't want to misspell it, so I'll just call it the art place. Okay, fine. And so to make artwork in this version of Minecraft, you need sheep, you need wool. So you need to make some sheep. So I have a little pen out here, and I'm going to start making some sheep out here. So, but I have to get them to mate, so I get more and more and more sheep. Now, I guess I'll look into the shears, whether I can actually shear the sheep. Maybe that's what I should do. But I mean, of course, my first reaction is like, no, I'm going to slaughter the sheep, and then I'll get the wool, and then I'll take that wool and go ahead and make the artwork. But maybe there's a more peaceable way to do it. I don't know. So we'll see. So let's see. Over here, I think I have some. Those are the eggs. Yeah, these are the eggs from the chicken apocalypse. You can look back at that video. Okay, here we go. So now I have some wheat. Is this wheat? Yeah, wheat. And I can use this to hopefully get these sheep to like love each other. Like, there we go. Come on, guys. There's one loving. Come on, I need to get another. Okay, there's two. Come on, guys. Come on, I should be able to get like 2 babies out of you today. Come on. Come on. Oh, why aren't you guys loving? See, if they don't give you that... Oh, stupid sheep. It seems like the cows and the chickens sort of like respond better. The sheep seem to be like this gray sheep. This gray sheep will never be happy. Look it. Never get the love out of this gray sheep. What the hey, man? Come on. Alright, see this sheep, that white sheep is going for it. Come on, there's got to be another one in there. Come on. Come on, guys. Come on. I need the gray sheep and the other sheep to mate. Oh! Oh, that was a cow. Well, I can't get a cow mating with a sheep. That's not going to work. They have different DNA. That's the problem. If you got different DNA, you can't work. Okay, well, okay, that's where I'm, like, building up the sheep so that I can, you know, I need to fill my art museum, so, you know, stuff's got to happen, you know. So that big, tall tower, so that is going to be my art museum over there. So let's go see how this is going. I built this up whenever. So today's kind of been, last week has been a wild week with stock market stuff. It's been kind of wild with the stuff with the short squeezes. You know, I think, you know, it's pretty amazing. I only have 2 pieces of art right now. Let's see, what is that? A creeper, right? Creeper, I don't know what that is. But, yeah, the thing with the, you know, the GameStop and the short squeezes, all that is kind of silly. This is a kind of wide open area. Look at that. I should be able to make some big art there. That's what I'm thinking. It's kind of it's kind of funny because it's revealed some hypocrisy at like a level that's like amazing hypocrisy, right? Because you have this situation where it's like little guys get together in basically a bulletin board or newsroom, you know, whatever that place is, and they get together and they decide, wow, that's unnerving. They get together and decide, hey, we're all going to buy the same stock, and there's enough of them to like buy the stock and squeeze out the shorts, who are like more professional hedge fund type people. And so now, of course, like there's all the powers that be up in arms because they're like, well, oh my gosh, you know, this is wrong. And it's like, well, is it really wrong? I mean, you guys are the ones that like shorted it. You know, you're the guys that are the experts. You understand the risk of shorting, right? That, you know, you are exposed to unlimited ups. When you short, you've borrowed and sold the shares short. And so that means you always have to return those shares. So if you're able to buy back the shares at a much lower price, then you make money. But see, there's always a limit to how much you can benefit on the downside because the shares don't go negative. So if you short something at $200 a share, it's only going to go to zero, right? You only got $200 per share profit. Maximum, right? Which in practice never really happens, right? That never happens. Like when you had companies actually go bankrupt, well, how low did they go? Well, they didn't go to zero because they always end up on the pink sheets, but they're effectively zero because you can buy them back at, you know, 5 cents on the share, you know, 5 cents a share, something like that. And so you get basically the full benefit of almost going to zero. But see, on the other side, what's the risk? The risk you're exposed to is what? Well, the risk you're exposed to is infinity, right? I mean, there's nothing stopping a stock from theoretically going up. I mean, there's practical limits and like how far you actually can go. But in a way, it's like, no, it could go up to infinity. And so seeing happen. You're seeing whoever the people are, wherever the funds are that are out there, and they're sitting there short these companies. These stocks from whatever $100 or less, and I mean they should be bankrupt. These are blockbuster video type stocks. These are going to go to zero. But these things have gone up to like $200, $300, $400 a share. It's just like historic volatility. But yeah. So let's see. Can I go any higher? Am I going higher? Or am I high as I can be? Yeah. So it's really I'm going higher. It's counting down. Wow. I didn't think I could go this high. But I peaked out. Wow, that's kind of interesting. I didn't think I could go that high. So I thought I built that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, but so getting back to this, the hypocrisy is something that's really amazing, because you have all these people that are like, oh, the gap between the rich and the poor is so large, and it is very historic. And it's historic because why? Because the Fed has printed all this money, and it's the cotillion effect. And so basically, if the people that get the money first get the benefit. People who gets the money first print money. And you can go to the George Gammons of the world and go through all that stuff, and they're like, well, they're not printing money, they're making reserves, and all this is technically true, but at the end of the day, it's printing money, because you're basically just stuffing the balance sheets of the banks with reserves, and at some point, it's encouraging them. At some point, they're going to go lend that, which will actually turn into like real money that will actually be out there. So, it's kind of interesting like that. And so basically, it's kind of funny that these, this is just revealed this hypocrisy where it's like, you have sort of this thing where it's like, oh, we need to encourage people to invest and buy stocks, for the long term. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, no, now they're bad for buying. Like, really? I mean, these people are just straight buying the stock. They're just buying the stock. I mean, they're not even doing like shorting it. I mean, the people that are losing are the people that are doing the sophisticated thing in terms of, shorting the stock. That's a more sophisticated move to do, right? And they're, in this case, it's definitely seems like it's some of the bigger guys, some of the hedge funds and things like that. So just the hypocrisy about people that like care about the little guy that really don't, and this company that, I understand. It looks like this company like the RH, the Robinhood, is, they got some financial risk. So, I sort of get it that they're going to try to limit the number of shares bought. This is down in the plumbing of the system where it's like, oh, they're being asked to put up large sums of money to back those trades, and they don't have the money. So that's, a big problem for them. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, in all time, in all place, every time you screw around with preventing people from just freely trading the market, you cause more trouble. And so that's what's happening here. So basically, they're preventing people from buying it. They're all going to leave the hood. They're just going to leave it because they're going to be like, screw you guys. Because there's plenty others. I mean, they charge nothing for a trade. A lot of the big broker guys have like come out with lowered their trading, whether it be TD Ameritrade, Schwab, or some of the other ones. And I know that those guys are not as popular with this generation of people because this generation doesn't like my generation. I mean, I'm more of like a TD Ameritrade kind of guy because that's kind of what I came of age trading on, and so for this generation they want something else, right? And that's fine. But so there's still, it's a low margin business, like being a broker. Being a retail broker is it's a very low margin business. So there's plenty of others out there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But I still wonder about that, if it's going to turn out to kind of push, be a top here, or cause some more problems. I mean, probably not a top, but it just causes kind of just behavior right now. It'll just be, I think it'll just be, oh, you know what happened to me? So let's go to another subject. Gosh, I lost all my good, I had some good bows, and then I fell in some lava, and I lost all my good bows and stuff. Dang it. Because I was thinking I'm going to change over to, I don't want to do that. I'm going to change over to the other mode. Huh. Let's see. If I go like that, is that how you make a bow? Yes, there it is. Okay, now I got to make a bow. Let me try to enchant this bow with something, because this bow on its own is going to not do me any good. Try to enchant this thing and then go to power 1. I don't have any experience. Yeah, flame, power 2. Alright, I'll just take power 1, dude. And then I'll get some arrows. Oh, I need a sword though. Let's see, let me make a sword and try to enchant that. Because I don't have experience right now. But yeah, so yeah, it's kind of interesting to see what's going on with Robin Hood. It's really pathetic. I just always look towards the hypocrisy of like how, you know, you want people to, you know, invest in the markets and this, that, and the other thing, except when it's causing a problem for someone that's an insider in the market, and that's exactly what's happening. So it is just ultra pathetic. It's really ultra pathetic. I mean, it's like if you're a hedge fund and you lost all this money in the market, you know, it's like, screw you, just man up and take it. You know, you made your bet, you knew what the risk, you know, you're out there, you're short millions of shares of these companies that admittedly are crappy companies, but you know what, you know the risk, and so this is part of the hypocrisy of the whole thing, because it's like, you know, it's like, it's part of this, the fundamental problem. We don't have capitalism right now. We have this crony capitalism where people go out there, the guys in the elite in the hedge funds, they go out there and they make all these bets, and they just make aggressive bets because they don't have to suffer the losses. You know, I mean, the worst one is back in the financial crisis. There was this AIG, and AIG was writing basically something called, I believe it was like credit default swaps. And the thing is, they were just making so much money on this stuff because they're writing these credit default swaps, and which is basically an insurance. So basically, if a bond goes belly up, you know, the credit default swap that is basically insurance on that, and then the CDS has to pay off. But you know, there was a case where AIG was writing all these policies because they're getting all this money in commissions, right? But they didn't have the resources. They weren't actually doing it properly in terms of they didn't have the reserves to actually pay off if any of these credit default swaps became valuable, basically, you know. And basically what happened, the housing market, everything went to crap, hell in handbasket, and like all of a sudden it's like, hey, time to pay on the credit default swaps. And it's like, no, we don't have the money. And so in the middle of that mess and all the other stuff that was going on, you know, all the stuff that was going on, one of the things that was going on is that there was a bailout, part of TARP. And at the end of that, what did they do? There was a $13 billion payment. And this payment was because AIG owed the $13 billion to none other than Goldman Sachs. And what happened? They get the bailout. And what happens? Who gets the $13 billion? Who gets the 13? Who got the $13 billion? GS directly. They got it directly. They didn't even trust it going through AIG. It's like, no, it's going to go directly to GS, who was connected, very connected at that time. Very connected. And so this, you look at the problems we have now, and you look at, like, if that was like real capitalism, hey, Goldman Sachs would have had to just take the total loss, right? That's how it should have been. And then what we would have is a much more stable system right now. Because if they took that loss, they would be like, okay, look, we can't make stupid bets like that, because we might actually have to take the loss. But what happens now? What happens now? What did they learn from that? They learned that, hey, you know what? We better take even stupider bets, because if we don't take those stupid bets, we don't get to make as much money. And oh, by the way, if we end up losing, we got bailed out, right? So it doesn't matter. There's no downside. No downside at all. So this is what all these players in the financial markets have learned. And this is because of all this interference in this public losses. And so now when it comes to the whatever you call it, this Robin Hood thing, it's just like it's more of the same. It's like they're trying to protect the big guys, and in this case, this is like this weird thing where like that's probably never happened, where the little guys got together and actually inflicted some pain on some of the big guys, and it's just it's just amazing, and so it's hypocritical. It's super hypocritical, and it's like people making excuses for it. People try to make excuses how these people are this, that, and the other thing, and it's like, just man up. That's the only way I think I can say it. Just man up. You made the bets. You lost on the bets. Go out there, just take the loss and move on. Don't come out there and expect us to bail you out. Don't expect the Robin Hood to prevent people from buying more shares. Forget it. And because who's going to end up losing in the end is going to be the little guy. Because look, these at the end, it's funny because I'm a technical kind of trader guy. Technical. But when it comes down to a longer picture, whether that company's going to survive, these companies aren't surviving. They're not surviving because the fundamentals underneath it are just crap. The technicals can only override the fundamentals for a little time because it's basically like a cycle. You get a cycle or two out of fundamentals where for whatever reason money can come in and come out of the stock, and it can drive a cycles in the time frame of years. But the company, for it to be around this long and stay around, it has to have some better fundamentals underneath it, and that's what these companies don't have. Because are things going back to normal with the CV? Probably not. Things are going to be different. They're just going to be different. It never goes back to what it was. So I think that's it for this one. This kind of, I don't know, man. I need to grow some more sheep. If anyone knows how to grow more sheep, let me know, because I want to get this art museum filled. I got like 6-7 floors I need to fill with art. It's like, what the heck? I guess the other thing I could just randomly talk about, I guess, is the, it's interesting after the Capitol Hill riots that, something like 200 people have been arrested, which is, it's very interesting. It's like, look, what happened there was wrong, and people broke the law, and they should be prosecuted. So when you say to me like, hey, there's 200 people that have been arrested, I'm all on board with that. It's like, hey, they did the wrong thing, they broke the law, they should be arrested, they have to go to court, right? There's a process, there's a due process here that they need to go through, and so I'm all for it. Like, hey, you do this stupid crap, you take a bunch of pictures of you in Congress people's offices, like, yeah, you're gonna get arrested. But what I want to say here is not justifying that at all. But the thing is, what's really interesting is there's been more and more riots again in both Portland and Seattle. Have had this consistent. They had this Chaz zone, Chaz chop, and they can't figure out how to name it. And if you go out on the YouTube, and you go look, and you can go to this Seattle podcast, this real estate channel, and you can kind of watch. This is a real estate guy in the Seattle area, and he kind of just tracks it. And all the stuff he reports on is being reported on in the mainstream papers in the Pacific Northwest area, and it's just amazing. Like these guys. They're now in Tacoma, right? There's been riots in Tacoma. A police officer. Apparently, ran over some people or ran through a crowd. Well, no, didn't ran through a crowd. He was in a crowd. He was trying to break up the crowd. The crowd would start hitting the car, and this is what's happened so many times. It's like if you're in a car and there's a mass of hundreds of people around you, and they're shaking the car and smashing the car, like, look, you're gonna die. you're gonna die. I mean, we're also, I mean, us that are older, we know what happened to, like, after the Rodney King things with Denny, that guy, the guy in the truck. You get pulled out of the car, you're dead. So your life isn't threatened. So, you know, so basically that happens, and now, like, there's riots in Tacoma now, which is, this sort of makes sense because the rest of the Pacific Northwest is turning into a hellhole, like Seattle, Portland. I have a friend that has parents in Portland. It's like, it's like, I mean, we go visit. It's very nice, and hang out with the parents, and like, it's great. Go walk a couple miles to breweries and stuff. And like, he was saying that, like, one of the police stations, like, down the street from his parents lived, where he grew up, is like they tried to take it over, and there's very little reporting on this. It's like, it's just unbelievable. It's like these people are walking around impunity. And then the other thing that's happening with this is they're really focusing on federal buildings. So it's pathetic beyond pathetic. You have people that are, like, bringing power tools to go vandalize and break into federal buildings, and they're getting arrested, but they're getting sent back on the street. This has been going on. You've had, like, months and months of riots. I mean, when that Floyd George thing broke up, I mean, they started having riots in some of these areas, and they're still having them. And why aren't these people being arrested? Isn't the FBI arresting them? Because look at these guys are attacking federal buildings. And here's the thing. It's hypocritical. It's like, look, apply the law. We have the law there. If we decide to change the law, there should be a debate process, and we should decide, like, hey, we need to make an adjustment to law, change the law. That's one thing. But what we have right now is the law, and we should all obey the law. And if we're breaking the law, and it doesn't matter for what imaginary side we're breaking the law for, we should be prosecuted in the same way. So yes, you should prosecute guys. You should prosecute those idiots that stormed Capitol Hill, but you should prosecute these idiots that are, like, consistently just rioting constantly in Portland and Seattle at federal buildings. And the other thing too, they're not. Why isn't the FBI investigating that? These are federal buildings. I mean, I'm not an expert in the law, but, like, FBI can investigate crimes against federal buildings would be my assumption. And, one of the things that I'll say about this, I know, like, they give it a pass, like the left kind of gives it a pass, because a lot of times they'll try to focus on a federal building that's related to, immigration or something, and they don't want to talk about it, and they want to give it a pass because they're, anti this enforcement of immigration laws. And, but, here's the thing. If you go back a little bit in history, and you go back to the 60s when the civil rights movement was going on, the federal government did a lot to try to help enforce the civil rights legislation. This is like integrating schools. There was all this, controversy where they sent in, federal troops or the National Guard in conjunction with the federal government. So my point is that, I mean, I'm not a big government person, but the point is, if you're attacking federal buildings and you're one of these liberal people attacking federal buildings, you need to think a little bit. You need to think. It's like, hey, like, I had an aunt that was had a disability. She worked for the government, right? Because that's the only people who would hire her. No one would hire her. And this was the state government, but this applied to the federal too. In the Americans Disability Act, I'm sure there's problems with these things, but who helped a lot of people by trying to create a consistent standard for many things across the board was the federal government, right? And so now you have people out there that are burning federal buildings, claiming this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? If you're supporting these people, or you're not aware, if you're out there and you're watching the big mainstream media who aren't reporting on this, you need to understand that this is happening. And maybe you should be critical of the 3-letter word group and the 5-letter word group in particular, who's behind a lot of this stuff. Because these guys are not peaceful. They are for fascism. They're using fascist techniques. They're using the violence on the street as their main method of trying to get change. And people are out there in denial of this. And I understand, if I watched MSNBC, CNN, I would be in denial of it too, because I wouldn't have any idea. And I get it. I wouldn't want to turn on Fox News. But you know what I would do? I would go and try to find something on the YouTube somewhere. Try to get some other independent source. Like what's really amazing is like when I looked at, it's interesting, the Russiagate thing. So all this crap with, Trump as a Russian, whatever, Manchurian candidate or a Russian spy, all this crap that came out, the Steele memo, all this crap, it's all just made up and it's all bull. And, at the end of the day, none of us know the truth, the absolute truth. But, that is a particular case. Like, you can find people that have done actual investigative reporting, and you can find very liberal people. You look at, like, The Hill, this guy Matei, Aaron Matei. He's a freaking progressive liberal guy. He's not some right-wing Trumper or something like that. And he did the research, and it's like, look, it's just unlikely. It's just, no, this is all just made-up crap. And then if you're more conservative, you can find conservative report places that have done the research. And what you will find is if you can find sources of people that actually do investigative research, and you can find them, let's put it this way, where they have the bent that you can tolerate. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's like this, like if you're a really liberal person, you can't tolerate Fox News. I get it. I understand. But you can find sources of other investigative journalists and that will research this stuff, because there's something deeper beneath it all. There's something much deeper. And so the point is, like, we look at that, like, as far as I can tell, it's all kind of crap. And so, yeah, I guess I forgot where I was at. Hey, let me play a song. So, like in the comments, if you recognize this song, you can kind of tell me what it is, so I won't go with it. But I'm just working on it. So this is the particular part that I'm just having this feeling that it isn't me, and it's coming from somewhere else. But I don't think so. But I think it might be like similar. It might have a similar hook to something else that was done in a different one. So I think that's it for this one. I think I've rambled on long enough. Have not accomplished anything. So I think that's it. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? So this is my outlet for just espousing whatever crap's going through my head. I think, and the thing to keep in mind, I know, like, there are probably some people that don't like what I'm saying, and I don't really need the hateful comments. I think, I'm coming from a position of, how do we make the world a better place? And the thing is, if you're in this position, and I know people can get so riled up, if you watch one news source, you get so riled up because you're like, your perception of reality is just so skewed. Like, there's this concept of rose-colored glasses, and it's like, you can have a person that has rose-covered glasses, and so basically everything that comes through is filtered to look beautiful, like roses, let's say, for example. And the world could be like it's suffering from a nuclear holocaust or something, or a nuclear disaster, and they could just be, everything could look good to them because of the glasses they have on. And what is a universal human trait is that we all have these filters on our glass. Like, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to be truly objective. It's not possible. We all have, we can't function as humans without having a bias. We have to. We just couldn't have survived. And this is the problem. That's how we get manipulated. We get manipulated because people know, hey, people have a bias, and if I convince people to look at things the way I want them to look at it, I can use that bias, I can create that bias and use it to my benefit. And this is how politics works, in particular, definitely how politics works. And so, it's just to be aware of it. And it's not like we live our lives worrying about it all the time, but you just think about it. All you do is observe. I mean, if you observe, like, whatever your news source is, turn on another news source. Turn on a couple. Go through 5 in the week. And you'll find something benign, and you'll find something that very benign, and you'll be like, huh. You'd be like, well, there's 2 different views there. I don't understand. Why is there 2 different views? And then if you realize it's like, these 2 different views that you saw. Well, if there's 2 different views, something benign, something that's not really controversial or whatever, then why isn't there 2 views on everything else, including politics, including life, including just every part of every aspect of our life? And there's more and more, and they're all just perspectives. And so that's really how I look at things. And then, there was something else I was thinking of, and I forget it. I started thinking about it, and I forgot. What did I call his channel? Dad Yells episode. Okay, that's it. I'm absolutely done now for this time. All right, that's it. Hasta la vista.